At the Valencia Marathon in December 2024, I ran 2:39.39, but the biggest problem I face in marathons isn't actually running out of fuel. It's that by about mile 16, my thighs feel really stiff and sore, like they've been repeatedly hit with a baseball bat. In this video, I want to share how I'm preparing for the 2026 London Marathon, what my training currently looks like, and the main limiter I expect to face on race day. I'd obviously love to run somewhere near my 2:39 PB again, and maybe even a little faster if things go well. But from experience, the biggest challenge for me in the marathon isn't glycogen depletion, it's actually muscle damage. And that's something many runners experience without always realising what's causing it. So if you've ever reached halfway in a marathon and suddenly your legs feel heavy, stiff and uncooperative, even though your breathing still feels controlled, then you've probably experienced this as well. Most marathon advice focuses on fuel and avoiding hitting the wall. But interestingly, not every runner is limited by energy in the same way. Some runners slow down because they run out of glycogen. Others slow down simply because their muscles stop cooperating. And understanding the difference can completely change how you prepare for the race. So for this race, I'm following a 16-week training block, and the structure might look a little bit unusual compared with many marathon training plans. During the first 8 weeks, the focus for me was simply building some consistent aerobic training, while keeping the impact on my legs relatively low. So I did a lot of cross training, with swimming on a Tuesday and Thursday, cycling on Friday and Saturday, and a midweek interval run with my running group. Then Sunday was the key session of the week, a long run of around 12 to 16 miles or 9 to 26 kilometres, usually finishing with some running at marathon pace. Now, here's the slightly unusual part. At that stage, I was only running twice per week, which sounds far too little for marathon training. But for many amateur athletes, consistency matters far more than simply increasing mileage. Cross-training allows me to maintain my aerobic fitness while reducing impact stress on my legs. That helps me stay healthy and train consistently over months rather than having interruptions from injury. And arriving at the start line healthy is often one of the most important parts of marathon preparation. In the second 8 weeks of my training block, I gradually shift the balance slightly more towards running. I add an extra short strength session, introduce an easy run with drills and strides on a Friday, and then gradually extend my long run on Sunday up to around 20 miles or 30 kilometres, again finishing with marathon pace efforts. So even at the peak of the block, I'm still running 3 times per week, supported by cross training. And that brings us to the key challenge for me in the marathon. Because my weekly mileage is relatively modest, I know there's one limiter that becomes particularly important, and this is where many marathon runners get caught out. When we think about the marathon, we often think about energy, but the mechanical stress of running your fastest 26.2 miles is enormous. Every stride involves an impact phase where muscles must absorb the force as your foot lands. And during this phase, the muscles are working eccentrically, meaning they are lengthening while producing force. Over thousands of steps, this creates small amounts of muscle damage, and as that damage accumulates, the muscles become stiff and sore. Once that happens, your running economy begins to deteriorate. You use more energy simply to maintain the same pace, even though your cardiovascular system may feel capable of working harder. For me, it's my quadriceps that take the biggest beating. By halfway through the marathon, they can start to feel extremely sore, and maintaining race pace becomes really difficult for me. It's not like I've run out of energy, it's just that my legs are struggling to keep absorbing the impact of every stride, and basically they just really hurt. And interestingly, some runners barely experience this at all. Not all marathon runners experience muscle soreness to the same degree. Some runners are limited primarily by glycogen depletion. Their muscles continue functioning well mechanically, but their fuel stores begin to run low, while others like me are limited more by muscular damage. And there are usually a few reasons for this difference. One is simply years of consistent running mileage. Over time, your muscles and connective tissues adapt to the repetitive loading of running. Another is running mechanics. Some runners distribute forces across the stride far more efficiently. And a third factor is muscular durability. Some athletes simply have an ability to tolerate the repeated impact of marathon training and running without losing efficiency. But if you're someone whose legs start to feel beaten up during the second half of a marathon, there are a couple of training strategies that can help you. Because I know muscle damage can become my limiting factor, I'm focusing on 2 specific strategies. The first is eccentric strength training for the key running muscles. For me, that's exercises like Bulgarian split squats, slow calf raising and lowering, and Romanian deadlifts. Strengthening the muscles in this way helps them tolerate repeated impacts without fatiguing as quickly. The second strategy is including marathon pace running at the end of your weekly long runs. So early in the training block, I started by finishing my long runs with about 3 miles or 5k of faster running. And over time, that amount of faster running at the end of my long runs has progressed. So now I'm finishing my long runs with up to 8 miles at marathon pace. Running faster on slightly fatigued legs helps prepare your muscles for the specific demands of a marathon. It's a way of developing durability without needing extremely high weekly mileage. The key principle with marathon training is progression. For example, we talked about adding small amounts of marathon pace running at the end of long runs early in the training cycle before gradually building that volume later on. Many structured marathon training plans do build that progression in over time. And if you're looking for a structured marathon training plan, we have options available. You can check them out at myprocoach.net or via the link in the description, and they're designed to be affordable and they include email coach support if you need guidance. For me personally, the focus in my own training has been very similar. If I can arrive at the start line feeling healthy and injury-free and then keep my legs functioning well beyond halfway in the marathon, then running somewhere close to that 2:39 again should be possible, and perhaps even a little faster. I'd be really interested to hear your experience during the marathon. What usually slows you down first, your energy levels or your legs becoming too sore to maintain your pace? Do let me know in the comments. And if you're preparing for a marathon yourself, I recommend watching the video that's appearing on screen right now. And you might also enjoy the Improve Your Running playlist, which includes more coaching advice to help you train effectively. And if you'd like more endurance training advice in the future, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.